Beloved soul, take just a moment right now. Breathe slowly and settle into this space, because what is being placed before your eyes in this moment was not brought to you by chance. Heaven itself has guided your steps to this message at this exact point in your life. Something is shifting around you right now. It may feel quiet on the surface and almost invisible to your natural eyes, but the angels are declaring clearly that what is unfolding beneath the surface of your situation carries far more power than anything you are currently able to see with your own understanding. If you want the full truth about what happens when you stop chasing, accept this truth right now. You did not fight or beg. You did not send one final message trying to explain yourself or justify where you stood. You simply stopped. You stopped chasing and stopped directing your energy towards someone who had grown completely comfortable receiving it without giving it back in equal measure. And beloved, in that single, quiet and courageous decision, something ancient and deeply divine was set into motion that you may not yet fully understand. The person who once felt entirely certain of your presence is now standing inside an unfamiliar silence they were not prepared for. The warmth you extended so freely, the attention you gave so consistently day after day, and the emotional availability you offered without reservation, all of it has been withdrawn. And they can feel that withdrawal, not as an argument or confrontation or drama, but as absence. Absence, beloved, carries a kind of spiritual and emotional power that words could never replicate or produce. Right now, whether you can fully see it or not, they are thinking deeply. They are questioning and feeling things they never anticipated feeling because for the very first time, they are encountering you without your effort holding everything together between you. And that changes everything about the dynamic that existed. When you stop chasing someone, the shift that occurs is not loud or dramatic, but it is profoundly real on both a spiritual and psychological level. Before this moment, the connection between you was being sustained almost entirely by your effort, your messages, your emotional availability, and your consistent showing up. All of that energy was flowing steadily toward them, creating a kind of one-sided momentum that kept everything moving forward. That momentum placed them in a position of spiritual and emotional comfort that they never had to examine or question. They did not have to make clear decisions about what they truly wanted. They did not have to examine their own feelings with any real honesty or fully confront what they genuinely desired from the connection because your energy was filling every gap and answering every question before it could even fully form inside them. God designed the human heart to seek, to pursue, and to make genuine choices. But when one person is doing all the seeking and all the pursuing on behalf of both, the other person is robbed of the very process that produces authentic and lasting commitment. They were existing within the connection without contributing equally, and a connection that only one person is truly sustaining is not a true covenant. It is convenience. Recognize this. If you finally stopped chasing and felt the shift. The moment you stopped, that entire structure began to give way. This was not because you created drama or forced any kind of confrontation, but because you withdrew the force that had been holding an imbalance in place that was never meant to be permanent. What once felt stable and certain to them now feels uncertain and unfamiliar. And the human spirit, just as God designed it, is fundamentally uncomfortable with uncertainty when something meaningful appears to be a genuine risk. Ancient wisdom tells us that above all else, we are to guard our hearts because everything we do flows from that place within us. Beloved, when you stopped chasing, you began guarding your heart. And in doing so, heaven began doing what only heaven is capable of doing. It began revealing truth. The truth is, before your silence, their attention was entirely passive. They received your energy without ever feeling the need to give back, fully confident that your effort would always bridge the distance between you. Your predictability had become their comfort zone, a constant they never had to question. But now, your absence has made their attention active, and for the very first time, they are noticing the void. This is not a coincidence, beloved. It is by divine design. The human mind naturally normalizes what is always available, but it is startled awake the moment that presence is withdrawn. Your silence has interrupted their expectations, leaving a gap where quiet questions are beginning to form. They are reanalyzing past conversations and wondering if something has shifted as God uses this disrupted certainty to awaken a spirit that complacency had put to sleep. Spiritual truths remind us that God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. The confusion they now feel was authored by the imbalance they allowed to exist, because by chasing them, you carried a weight that was never yours to bear. Now, your stillness has made that imbalance undeniable, and the connection suddenly demands an investment and initiative from them that feels incredibly uncomfortable. Your attention was a mirror, reflecting their significance without them having to earn it. Now that the mirror is gone, they must face the reality of what they took for granted. Your steps toward stillness were ordered by God to finally reveal the truth. Heaven is using your decision to stop chasing to bring about powerful spiritual revelations, beginning with the exposure of the imbalance. When you were giving everything, the unequal nature of the connection was hidden under your effort, but now the truth is laid bare. They are forced to see how little they contributed, how often you reached out, and how much emotional labor you carried alone, producing an honesty that is necessary for genuine healing. Furthermore, this silence forces a stillness where emotions rise more clearly, forcing them to sit with their own thoughts and confront what they truly feel about you. Finally, this creates the ultimate test of initiative. The responsibility to move the connection forward now rests entirely on them, and their choice will reveal their true character. Because someone who genuinely values you will not allow the silence to remain permanent. Another way this works is through the revealing of emotional and spiritual maturity. Not everyone responds to absence in the same way, and the way a person responds to your silence reveals the true depth of their emotional and spiritual maturity in a way that nothing else quite can. A person who is genuinely capable of real covenant love will not react defensively to your withdrawal. They will sit with the discomfort it creates. They will examine their own behavior with honesty rather than retreating into pride. They will ask difficult questions of themselves and resist the urge to look away from the answers. But a person who is not yet emotionally mature will resist this process entirely. They may pull further away in order to protect their sense of pride. They may convince themselves that the connection was never as significant as it felt when you were fully present. They may wait passively for you to return to your old patterns rather than rising to meet the moment with the courage it requires. Their response, beloved, is one of the clearest signs heaven will send you about whether this person is truly ready for the kind of love God is calling you toward in this season of your life. There is also a revealing of their genuine feelings. Your consistent presence may have been sustaining emotions in them that were partly kept alive by your energy and your effort rather than by any genuine and independent depth of feeling on their part. But your absence removes that external input entirely. And what remains in its place is the honest truth of what they feel about you, independent of anything you are doing or not doing. If their feelings for you are genuinely real, the absence of your presence will cause those feelings to intensify. They will begin to miss you not as a comforting habit or as a familiar convenience, but as a specific and irreplaceable person. They will recognize what your presence actually meant to their life in ways they never slowed down to fully acknowledge before. But if their feelings were shallow, if they were sustained more by the ease of your availability than by a genuine and deep connection, that truth also becomes apparent through the silence. And either outcome, beloved, is a gift. Because truth, even when it is difficult to sit with, is always better than a comforting illusion that keeps you in a place you were never meant to remain. There is also the activation of spiritual clarity within you. Beloved, this is something the angels want you to hold very closely to your spirit. The silence you have chosen is not only working on them, it is also working within you in ways that are just as significant. It is creating space for God to speak directly to your spirit without the constant noise of emotional striving and overthinking that has been filling that space. When you are constantly chasing, your mind is always occupied with trying to figure things out. You wonder why they did not reply, what you should say next, or how you can make them see your worth. This creates a state of internal noise that makes it almost impossible to hear the gentle guidance of the divine. But when you step back, the noise fades away. You are left with a quietness that allows you to reconnect with your own soul and with the voice of God. In this stillness, you will begin to see things clearly. You will look back at the relationship and realize where you were settling for less than you deserved. You will see the moments where you ignored red flags or excused behavior that was hurtful. This clarity is not meant to make you feel regretful or angry, but to empower you. It is the beginning of a deep internal healing that will transform the way you approach connections in the future. As you remain in this space of stillness, heaven is also restoring your sense of self-worth. Chasing someone forces you to operate from a place of lack, as if you are not enough on your own and must convince someone else to love you. This chips away at your confidence and leaves you feeling exhausted and drained. But when you stop, you reclaim your power. You send a powerful message to your own subconscious mind and to the spiritual realm that you are valuable, that your love is a prize, and that you will no longer offer it to those who treat it as cheap. This shift in your internal energy radiates outward, altering the spiritual atmosphere around you. The angels are surrounding you with comfort and strength during this transition. It is not easy to walk away from a pattern of chasing, especially when your heart is deeply invested. There may be moments of loneliness or temptation to reach out once more just to see if they will respond. But in those moments, remember that the silence is doing a profound work that your words never could. Trust the process and trust the divine timing that brought you to this point. You are being prepared for a love that is reciprocal, balanced, and rooted in mutual respect and honor. Keep your heart guarded as you move forward. Allow the space to remain open for the truth to be fully revealed. Whether this person steps up and matures into the partner you need, or whether heaven removes them completely to make room for someone better, you can rest assured that you are being guided along the right path. The heavy lifting is no longer your responsibility. You have handed the situation over to a higher power, and you can now rest in the assurance that everything is working together for your ultimate good. When you stop pouring all of your energy outward towards someone who is not meeting you where you are, that energy begins returning to you, and God uses that returned energy to heal what has been quietly depleted over time, to sharpen your discernment, and to prepare your heart for what is genuinely and truly coming. Ancient scriptures remind us that in returning and rest is our salvation, and in quietness and trust is our strength. Your silence is your strength. Beloved, it always has been, even when it did not feel that way in the harder moments of waiting. Another profound way this works is through the removal of what is not a true covenant. If this person is not truly meant for you, if this connection is not ordained by God as a genuine covenant between two lives, then your silence will make that truth undeniable. This does not happen through argument or confrontation or pain, but through natural revelation. What is not meant to remain will quietly fall away under the honest weight of your withdrawal. And a door that closes, beloved, is never God's punishment for something you did or failed to do. It is always God's protection over what lies ahead for you. What leaves your life to create room for something greater is not lost. It is preparation for the real thing that is still coming. When your energy shifts and the pursuit ends, the person on the other side enters a season of emotional and spiritual unsettledness. This happens even if they carefully maintain a composed exterior for the world around them. And the angels want you to understand what that unsettledness genuinely looks like, because recognizing it will protect you from misreading what is quietly unfolding in the space between you. The first reaction they experience is rarely clear or direct. Instead, it arrives as a blend of confusion, growing curiosity, and a subtle anxiety that builds beneath the surface of their ordinary daily life. Confusion is typically where it begins. They had grown accustomed to a certain spiritual and emotional rhythm between you. They were used to a predictable flow where your energy was always present and always moving consistently toward them. That rhythm created a sense of stability in them, even if they were never fully conscious of it or grateful for it. When that stability disappears, their spirit struggles to settle back into any comfortable place. They find themselves asking persistent questions that do not arrive at clear answers. They wonder why this shift happened and what caused this change. They question if this is about something they said or did. They ask themselves if something has changed within you, or if something has changed within themselves. The questions keep moving in circles without landing anywhere solid, and that circular movement produces a discomfort that is genuinely difficult to dismiss or ignore. What happens next, after the silence has settled and the reflection has genuinely begun, is not determined by the circumstances alone. It is determined entirely by the inner condition of the person who is now facing those circumstances. Your absence creates a space, but what that space ultimately produces depends completely on the emotional and spiritual maturity of the person encountering it. This is where deep psychological wisdom and spiritual truth meet. A person with genuine emotional and spiritual maturity does not simply react impulsively to the discomfort your absence creates. They pause. They look inward rather than outward for answers. They become curious not just about you, but about themselves and their own behavior within this connection. When they feel the weight of the shift, they do not rush to assign blame or construct an explanation that merely protects their pride and leaves them blameless. Instead, they begin examining the role they played in how things unfolded. They ask themselves how much they genuinely contributed to the relationship. They reflect on how honestly they communicated what they felt and wanted. They consider how clearly they pursued what truly mattered to them when the opportunity was present. This examination brings with it a quiet accountability they were not previously willing to carry. Instead of focusing only on what they may be losing, they begin to understand what they failed to offer when the opportunity to offer it was still clearly available. And from that honest place of self-awareness, their response tends to be more intentional and more real. If they value what existed between you, they will move toward it. They will not do this impulsively and not merely to fill the empty space. After you have prayed and surrendered the outcome to God, the angels want to speak to something that many people carry quietly beneath the surface, but rarely find the words to voice. After you stop chasing, after you create the silence, after you genuinely trust God with whatever the outcome will be, many people expect that everything will resolve itself quickly. They expect that the answer will come swiftly, and that the shift will produce an immediate and clearly visible result. But beloved, God works in seasons. Just as a seed placed carefully into the ground does not become a mature tree in a single night, your covenant clarity is being grown with care, with intention, and in the perfect divine timing that only heaven can see and orchestrate. Do not mistake a quiet season for an empty one. God is working even when you cannot see the evidence of that work in the circumstances around you. He is working within them, stirring and revealing and gently confronting what has been consistently avoided. He is working within you, healing and strengthening and preparing your spirit, so that when what is coming finally arrives, you are not too depleted or too distracted to receive it fully and with a whole heart. He is working in the spiritual atmosphere surrounding the entire situation, removing what is not properly aligned with your destiny, positioning what is, and ordering every single step according to his perfect and unhurried plan. You can share this truth with someone who is still chasing and needs this message today. Spiritual wisdom reminds us that the vision is for an appointed time. Though it may seem slow to our human understanding, we are told to wait for it because it will surely come without being late. What God has prepared for your life is already written. It is already appointed. It will not arrive one single moment before its time. But, beloved, hear this clearly and let it settle into your spirit. It will not be late either. Trust the timing of heaven even when it feels slow to your human understanding. Trust it even when the silence stretches longer than you anticipated or hoped for. Trust it even when your emotions urge you to reach out again, to explain yourself one more time, or to chase once more simply to end the uncertainty you are sitting inside. In those moments, return to the timeless truth that tells us to trust in the Lord with our whole heart and lean not on our own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. That promise is for you right now, in this very season, in this very silence. Beloved, the angels want to speak directly to something that lives quietly beneath the surface of why so many people return to chasing, even after they clearly know within themselves that they should stop. It is the fear of being alone. It is the fear that if this particular connection does not work out, if this specific person does not ultimately choose them, there will be no one else. They fear that this was perhaps the very best they could ever hope for. They worry that waiting will only lead to more waiting and eventually to a loneliness with no end in sight. If those thoughts have visited your spirit in the quiet moments, beloved, hear this with your whole heart. Those thoughts are not from heaven. They are whispered by the enemy whose assignment is to keep you living small, living afraid, and settled into far less than what God has prepared and promised for your life. Embrace these spiritual truths and reflect deeply on what mirrors your situation the most. Spiritual teachings tell us plainly that the thief comes only to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And one of the primary things the enemy seeks to steal from God's children is their confidence in God's goodness and their trust that what heaven has genuinely promised will truly come to pass in their lives. Other sacred promises speak directly into the spirit of loneliness and fear, reminding us that the Lord your God is with you, and He is a mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love, He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with gladness and celebration. When you fully grasp this, you realize that you never have to chase anyone to prove your worth or to secure your future. The right people will recognize the value of your presence without you having to diminish yourself to keep their attention. By choosing stillness, you are stepping out of the way so that divine justice and perfect alignment can take place. You are allowing the truth of the connection to show itself naturally. If the relationship was built on a shaky foundation of convenience, it will dissolve to make way for a solid foundation built on mutual respect and genuine love. If the connection is meant to be restored, it will happen because the other person has experienced the reality of your absence and has chosen to mature, to step up, and to meet you with the same energy you have always given. Either way, you win. You are no longer wasting your precious emotional currency on a connection that leaves you feeling empty and unappreciated. You are storing up your strength, refining your character, and becoming the person you need to be for the blessings that are currently being prepared for you. Stand firm in your decision to remain still. Do not let anxiety or temporary loneliness pull you back into old habits that broke your spirit. The silence you are maintaining is not a void filled with nothing, but a sacred space filled with divine potential. Rest in this truth. Keep your heart guarded and watch how beautifully heaven orchestrates the next chapter of your journey.